Today I want to talk about all of the things that I personally would love to see in Scream 7, so let's get spooky. Greetings everyone, my name is Nightshade. This is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today I want to talk about Scream 7. With all of the news that is constantly coming out about this film, I can't help but be excited. But with that excitement also comes a little bit of nervousness. The Scream franchise is one of my all-time favorite horror movie franchises. It is the franchise that got me into horror to begin with many moons ago. And it's one of the only film franchises that I consider to be a perfect franchise. I don't think that there is a bad movie in the bunch, although some of the extreme diehard fans say that the last two were garbage, but I have to disagree. For me personally, I just think it's a great franchise. I don't think it has any horrible movies in the bunch. Sure, there's a handful of movies that aren't as good as the other ones, but they're still good movies. They're still going to have a good time watching them. I personally hope that that trend continues. I hope that we get yet another banger of a Scream film. And I really wanted to go into Scream 7 without knowing much of anything outside of the trailer. It's a little bit impossible for that to happen because, I'm in all of these Scream groups and follow a lot of Ghostface related things. And those people are just insane with the information that they are able to obtain. And as easy as it would be for me to just leave those groups, I'm still on the hunt for a Gen 1 Ghostface mask. That is one of my goals to achieve this year, is to acquire a decently priced Gen 1 Ghostface mask. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I just can't seem to avoid, but it's okay. So let's go ahead and talk about what I want to see in Scream 7. But before we do, I want you guys to let me know what you want to see in Scream 7 before I even get started. I want to see what you guys are getting hype about this movie before I even get started here. So yeah, go ahead, sound off in the comments below. I look forward to reading those. So up first, what I want to see in Scream 7 is the reason that the Scream franchise is so strong is because the storytelling is pretty strong in all of these films. And for me, everything serves the story. Like, if you have, great cinematography, great kills, great everything else, but have a shitty story, then you're going to have a shitty movie. But, the Scream franchise as a whole has always been really strong in the story department, at least in my opinion. I know there's people that detract the past two, like I've already said, but I think the stories have all been pretty good. Like, there's some that are better than others, but they're all still pretty banger. Let me talk a little bit about a few things that have me a little bit nervous about this film. So, with the announcement of, Dewey coming back, Stu coming back, Roman coming back, I'm hoping that this does not rely on nostalgia baiting at all. I really don't want that to be the case. Like modern Marvel films, which are not the best caliber Marvel films that we get, all of those films, all the modern films, within the past few years, have all relied heavily on nostalgia. Hey, remember this guy here that was in a movie that you loved 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago? Or look at this guy here. Remember that guy? Yeah, he was cool in that movie that you loved back in the day. To me, nostalgia only really works when you move away from the franchise and that franchise doesn't have any movies come out for a pretty decent amount of time. For example, in Halloween 2018, there was a lot of nostalgia baiting in that film, but it worked because we haven't seen a good Michael Myers film since Halloween H2O up to that point. Getting in your references to all of the classic Halloween films was fine in that film. But, they also did it in Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and they just kind of beat you over the head with nostalgia. I think in your first film back after a very long hiatus, it's fine. But if you rely too heavily on that and say a trilogy and you just keep referencing old shit and not moving on from it, it starts to become a hindrance. Another prime example of this would be Star Wars: The Force Awakens. They had a lot of nostalgia there, but we hadn't gotten a Star Wars movie in 15 years or something like that. And, it's fine in the first movie, and then, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker all had terrible story and tried to beat us over the head with nostalgia to make you think that it was an okay movie, which it was not. None of those movies were. You know, it just feels a little bit insulting and makes you want to watch the old movies that they're referencing because they're far superior. So my hopes for Scream 7 is that they don't rely too much on nostalgia because, you know, we're not very far removed from Scream 5 or Scream 6, and we've only had one movie without Sidney Prescott in it, so like it doesn't make sense to me anyways to nostalgia bait because we don't need it. Another thing that I would really love to see in Scream 7 would be so in the Scream franchise, there are some really good sequences that do build suspense, and I would like to see that continued in Scream 7. Arguably, the first Scream film has the best amount of suspense in it, but, you know, Scream 2 also had great suspense, and Scream 6 also had some great suspense and great build-up as well, and I would love to see that trend continue. Whenever I go see this opening night, I want to be sitting at the edge of my seat, just chomping my nails with the suspense that would be killing me in the theater. Like, I want to see some phenomenal suspense in this film. Like, I want it. I crave it. I need it. I will die if I don't get it. But the Scream franchise has great suspense in it, and I just want to see more of it. I would like to see even more suspense on screen than we've gotten in previous films. All right, so next up on my list of wants from Scream 7, we have... like, I would love to see some phenomenal kills from the Scream franchise. Now, the original Scream had some pretty great kills, and some of the best kills in the franchise, I might add. You know, we got disembowelings and hangings, and then after that, like in Scream 2 and Scream 3, it's all mostly just knife stabs. And as a fan of slashers, I would just like to see a little bit more of the good stuff, the red stuff. Like, in my opinion, Scream 4 has some of the most brutal kills in the franchise, and I would like to see that body count and that gore factor just pumped up a little bit. Although the kills aren't the most important part of the horror slasher experience, it would be nice to see, you know, Ghostface just be fucking brutal. Like, let's let Scream 7 be the most brutal of all the Scream films. Like, I would love to leave the theater just like, holy shit, can you believe that they actually had a Ghostface do a kill that would rival Art the Clown or something like that. And I know that the Scream franchise is not predicated solely on its kills, but it would be nice to see a Scream film that makes you go, what the fuck, I can't believe they did that shit. It would be pretty cool. And also, I would like to see meaningful deaths in this film. Like, I don't want to see, you know, life-ending wounds turn into something superficial like they did in Scream 6, because, you know, like, Chad had the opportunity to be like the coolest kill in Scream 6, but, you know, he fucking survived for whatever reason, plot armor, I guess. You know, Mindy as well, she survived her attack, even though that, you know, blade was put in there and lifted up, and, you know, she survived. So not only would I like to see like really solid kills, but I also want to see some actual deaths. Like, I don't want little mamby-pamby bullshit where people survive life-threatening wounds. That it really bothered me in Scream 6, and I would definitely want to see that be put to an end. And I also want like meaningful characters to die in this film. Like, I kind of hope Chad and Mindy, if they're in this film, I genuinely hope they get the kibosh. And you know, seeing some other characters that we grow to like, I would like to see them die as well. Like, let this movie actually have stakes, rather than, you know, we like these characters, so we're just gonna have a bunch of cannon fodder die instead of the main core four. You know, the reason that Scream 1 and Scream 2 were so good is because, you know, meaningful characters died in those films. I'm still heartbroken about Randy, goddammit. So let's let some of the main characters die. Like, let it happen. It's okay. It'll be fine. They've done it before. They can do it again. You know, I want them to raise the stakes and raise the body count and make the deaths in this film be meaningful. So, moving right along on my list, we have I want some good fucking characters in this film. You know, for my money's worth, I would say that the Scream franchise has the best written characters in all of horror, where most slasher franchises just treat their characters as cannon fodder. A lot of the Scream franchise has really well-written characters that do have, you know, character growth throughout their films. And then eventually they get killed off and it actually holds more of an impact when they do die. And I would like to see more of that in this film. Like, I want to see everybody in this film hold their own. I think that with the exception of like maybe 3 characters, everybody in the Scream franchise has been pretty good. Amber fucking sucks though. Fuck Amber. So I definitely want to see some really well-written characters in Scream 7. And you know, I don't have any doubts that they're gonna do a pretty good job. Like, the cast all seem pretty cool. So like, we'll see how it pans out. Up next on my list, we have... I want to see some genuinely surprising Ghostface reveals. Like, I don't want to figure out who the killer is within the first 15 minutes of the movie. That really has seemed to be a trend among these most recent Scream sequels. And, you know, like, Amber and Richie were far too easy to figure out, like, right out the gate. And, you know, in Scream 6, 2 of the 3 killers were pretty easy to figure out who they were pretty early on in the film, minus 1 because we got a fake out death. So no fake out deaths either. Like, I want, you know, a genuinely good Ghostface reveal. If you've watched my review series on the Scream franchise, you'll know that after the first Scream, I do have an annoyance with some of the Ghostface reveals. Like, after the first Scream, every Ghostface, at least one of the Ghostfaces, wants to be Matthew Lillard. Everybody tries to outmocker the stew, and I just think that is overplayed at this point in time because, you know, when one of the killers is revealed, they turn into a fucking cartoon character, and quite frankly, it doesn't have to be that way. In Scream 2, it was Mickey that tried to do his best Matthew Lillard impression. In Scream 5, it was Amber. And in Scream 6, it was Ethan and Wayne. Like, they both kind of did their best evildoer impressions, and it's fucking cringe. So in Scream 7, it would be nice if, you know, during the reveal, they don't turn into cartoon characters. You know, at least in my opinion, I think it would work a little bit better and be a little bit more impactful if once the killers were revealed, they were cold, calm, almost stoic, and menacing in that regard. Like, still physically brutal, but just cold. You know, just something a little bit more imposing, and it seems a little bit more threatening than somebody that's just, whoa, I got you, Sidney. That was fucking dumb. I'm sorry. I just think it would be really cool if we got 2 cold, calculated killers, or even just 1 cold, calculated killer. I think that would just be a little bit more terrifying than the, you know, trying to outdo Stu Macher. Like, it's never gonna happen. So they should stop fucking trying because, you know, nobody outmockers this Stu, for sure. And for the last thing on my list, which is probably going to be the most controversial part of this video, we have... I personally hope that this is the last Sidney Prescott Scream film that we get for a while, at the very least. Maybe not permanently, but at least for a while. Now, don't get me wrong, Sidney Prescott is my favorite final girl of all time. She is #1 on my final girl list any day of the week. That being said, I hope that this is the last that we see of Sidney outside of maybe like a cameo for a decent amount of time for a couple of reasons. Let's circle back to the very first category that we have here, and that is story. We have been doing the Sidney Prescott saga for 5 films, and, you know, we stepped away in Scream 6, and I thought that was a good step in a different direction. We've been telling Sidney Prescott's story for almost 30 years, and with the exception of the last film, but like, she has been the center of all of the Scream films minus the last one. In my opinion, and in order to move away from this franchise veering into absurdity, I would like for her to have her happy ending, and I'm not talking about Asian massage parlors. No. I want her to have a happy ending and a grand finale. I want her to go out with a bang.
I've been through this a lot.
And don't get it twisted. Like, I don't want Sidney to die at all. But I also don't want to live in a world where we get a bad Scream film and it's in a Sidney Prescott movie, if that makes sense. Like I said, we've been telling her story for almost 30 years, and you know, I don't want it to be like Child's Play where it veers into the absolutely absurd. And, you know, that's a movie about a killer doll. And even, you know, one movie went way too far into the absurd. And I don't want to see that happen to Sidney's legacy, which is one of the big things that I'm scared about this film. I don't want Sidney's legacy to be tarnished at all. You know, in Scream 6, whenever they said Neve Campbell wasn't going to be in it, I kind of got excited because, you know, that's realm for new story and new growth, because, you know, there's only so much of the same thing that we can do over and over in Sidney Prescott's story that now we have to talk about, you know, Stu Macher possibly coming back. I know a lot of people are really excited about that and really want Stu to be alive. And for me, it doesn't work. I'm one of the few that have been against the idea of Stu Macher coming back and being a killer. Like, you know, the Scream franchise has done very well in keeping it real and keeping it down to earth and keeping it grounded. And I think the return of Stu Macher would kind of step on that a little bit and veer things into silly territory. And I don't at all want that to be the case for one of my favorite franchises of all time. So, you know, I would like to see Sidney, you know, square up with Ghostface one last time, at least for now. Like, maybe in the future we get like a Jamie Lee Curtis type of return to, you know, have Sidney face off against Ghostface one last time. I'd like to see something more like that rather than, you know, oh, Sidney's in danger from Ghostface again and again and again. You know, I would love to see, you know, maybe Sidney fake her death so that no ghost faces would continue to go after her, and then we could build new story, new characters, and have a whole new legacy for the future. And then, you know, maybe a couple movies down the line, Sidney comes out of retirement to help Gail or Kirby or somebody that, you know, has ties with the original first 4 or 5 films, and, you know, something more aligned with that. But, you know, I just think that if we kept going with Sidney Prescott's story, it will veer off into the absolutely absurd. And I don't want to see that happen. Like, how many more retcons are we going to have? How much more unfound story is there in this film before it starts to get fucking ridiculous? You know, for me personally, the long lost brother thing was the most ridiculous story beat in the entire, you know, Scream franchise, and I don't want it to go any further crazier than that. I don't want it to go any crazier than that. I would like that to be like the most wild shit, because, you know, that's a possibility. A long lost brother could be a thing. It's very soap opera to me though, and I wasn't down for it, and you know, it is what it is. You know, I'm probably in the minority here, but I do think that we need to move on from the Sidney legacy and start building up something new, so that way it remains fresh and doesn't veer off into the silly. I don't want this. This is one of my favorite franchises, if not my favorite franchise. You know, like, the Scream franchise has done me no harm. Like, you know, Michael Myers is my favorite slasher, but, you know, the Scream franchise might be my favorite franchise of horror of all time, because it's the franchise that got me into horror, and I just want to see this film franchise continue to succeed without being fucking goofy. So that's just about going to do it for me. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate. I really will. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends. Oh, I know people are going to be really upset with that last part of the video, which is why I saved it to the end, because I'm sure, I'll lose viewers along the way, but... And if you're still watching up to this point, congratulations. You are now part of an elite group here on this channel known as the Spooky Squad, because you are a real one for watching the video all the way through. So with that being said, I need you to let me know that you are one of the real ones by commenting down below, Spooky Squad 2025. Let me know you're out there. Say what's up. And with that being said, I gotta get out of here because I gotta film more stuff, and I gotta start prepping music, because me and my bandmate are talking about doing another record, and I'm extremely excited about it, but it does take a valiant effort to get all of this stuff done. So yeah, I'm going to go and work on that, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.